The film opens in San Francisco, California, where a seemingly normal day is interrupted by a shockingly extraordinary spectacle: an anthropomorphic young hedgehog with blue fur, white gloves and red shoes is running through the city at breathtaking speed while a flying machine piloted by a mustached scientist dressed in a red flight suit gives chase and fires explosive energy blasts. In the middle of the chase, there is a pause as the hedgehog, named Sonic, begins to narrate what is currently happening and rewinds to the very beginning to inform the audience of how things got to this point. Recalling his childhood days living on a beautiful island in another world with palm trees, waterfalls, and even loop-de-loops made of soil. He remembers running joyously across the island every day, relishing in life and making full, open use of his natural-born powers despite being told to keep them secret by his doting guardian, Longclaw the owl. A then young Sonic rushes home to the treehouse where Longclaw is resting and playfully bumps into her to wake her up. Longclaw warns Sonic that he might have been noticed because of his coveted powers, but Sonic is not concerned, saying he was too fast to be seen. But as he affectionately presents a sunflower to her as a gift, a gesture that touches the owl, they are ambushed by a tribe of echidna warriors. Her fears realized, Longclaw desperately flies away with Sonic, only for one of the echidnas to fire his arrow and successfully strike her, causing her to plummet to the ground with Sonic still clinging to her. Though injured, Longclaw reminds Sonic of the importance of keeping himself and his powers hidden, as she knows that others would use them for their own purposes. She uses a golden ring to open a portal to a planet on the far side of the universe, called Earth, giving the rest of the rings to Sonic in a small bag and tells him to flee to Earth, where he will be safe. The reluctant Sonic runs through the portal while Longclaw stays behind to hold off the approaching echidnas. Seeing her in danger, Sonic desperately runs back to try to save her, but the portal disintegrates just before he can reach her, leaving him heartbroken, devastated, and alone. 10 years later, in March 2020, Sonic, now a teenager, has adjusted to life on Earth. Tom Wachowski, the local sheriff of Green Hills, Montana, is sitting bored in an empty speed trap, waiting for cars to speed by. Sonic playfully messes with him by zipping past his radar gun at ridiculous speeds, first at 296 miles per hour and then at 300 miles per hour. When Tom gets out to investigate, he discovers one of Sonic's blue quills lying near a small opening in the long grass. He takes the quill with him, but is then called away by his deputy, Wade Whipple, to address a minor issue back in town. Nearby, Sonic saves a turtle from being run over by an approaching car and takes it for a wild ride before leaving it and zipping back to a hidden cave, which he has turned into a makeshift home. Sonic seems to love his life. He enjoys playing with discarded items from the outside world to keep himself entertained. He feels safe knowing he can escape to one of the worlds depicted on a map included in a bag of rings, particularly an uninhabited world full of giant mushrooms. Although he hates the idea, he is not worried because Green Hills feels like home to him. Sonic frequents the town every day and secretly observes its residents. His favorites are Tom, whom he affectionately nicknames Donut Lord, for his tendency to talk to and eat donuts, and Tom's veterinarian wife, Maddie, whom he calls Pretzel Lady because of her yoga flexibility. There is, however, a person in town who has already discovered Sonic and refers to him as the Blue Devil. This person is Crazy Carl, an eccentric old man who tries to make the town aware of Sonic's existence. But no one believes him and they laugh at him. Carl attempts to trap Sonic with various elaborate devices to prove the hedgehog's existence. But Sonic always manages to avoid them and has fun causing Carl to get caught in his own traps. Having formed a strong bond with Tom and Maddie from afar, Sonic often hangs out around their house, especially on movie nights. Yet, despite his fun interactions and these so-called friends, Sonic still feels very lonely in his self-imposed isolation. He fears that he will spend the rest of his life alone. After coming home one night to find raccoons in his trash can, much to his annoyance, Tom receives from Maddie his long-awaited letter of acceptance into the San Francisco Police Department, and the two discuss the difficult decision to move away from Green Hills. Yet Tom is certain that the move is his chance to do more than simple odd jobs as sheriff of Green Hills and actually save lives. The next day, as Tom recites his departure speech to a donut, Sonic observes the local youth baseball playoffs and sees a young baseball batter high-five his teammates. That night, Sonic goes into the vacant baseball field and plays by himself, using his speed to assume the roles of all the players. He manages to make a perfect play and rejoices, holding his hand up for a high five. But when he looks around and sees that no one is there to cheer him on, he realizes he is truly alone forever. In his despair, he tries to work off the pain by running desperately around the field. But his sadness only turns to anger and frustration at his situation, his emotions building and causing electricity to emit from his body. Eventually, it becomes too much and he lets loose an anguished scream, the energy within him exploding outward into a massive electromagnetic pulse that knocks out power across the entire Pacific Northwest. Immediately after, Sonic becomes worried that he may have just revealed himself with his outburst and dashes off, hoping no one noticed. Meanwhile, much to the contrary, Wade is left to deal with several phone calls to Green Hills Police Station, as the town is completely in the dark. Concerned, he contacts Tom, who starts to give him instructions but ends the call prematurely when he sees the quill he discovered earlier glowing with an electric blue light. News of the event soon reaches the Pentagon, and Commander Walters of Defense enlists the help of brilliant roboticist and scientific genius named Dr. Robotnik to discover the cause. In spite of everyone disliking his egotistical and unorthodox nature, he is the best man for the job. After Robotnik and his partner, Agent Stone, take charge of the military detachment stationed at the baseball field, Robotnik's flying, high-tech, egg-shaped drones head into the forest, where one of them finds a footprint from Sonic and scans it. Robotnik discovers that his computer can't find a single match in Earth's animal kingdom to identify the creature responsible for the print, a fact that catches his interest. As the military troops and the drones search the forest for him, Sonic, realizing that he had just blown his cover, rushes back to his cave to collect his valuables and prepares to leave Earth forever. But just before he can use the rings to save himself, the troops and drones draw close to his cave and Sonic flees to avoid them, sentimentally bidding goodbye to his cave. Meanwhile, Tom is on the phone with Maddie, who has flown out to San Francisco to check out their future house, as well as to visit her sister Rachel, who dislikes Tom, and niece JoJo. As Tom tells Maddie about the blackout, he hears a disturbance and sees his trash can toppled over. Thinking the raccoons are back, Tom takes Maddie's tranquilizer gun, ends the call abruptly, which gives Rachel enough reason to suggest to Maddie that she should divorce him, and goes out to investigate the shed. The noise turns out to be Sonic, who broke into the shed so he would have a safe place to use one of his rings. As he prepares to do so, Tom bursts into the shed and sees him. Both of them scream in terror at the sight of each other, and Tom fires a dart into Sonic's leg. The weakening Sonic sees a picture of San Francisco's Transamerica Pyramid on Tom's t-shirt, and as he drops his ring, it opens a portal above the actual building itself. Collapsing to the floor, Sonic accidentally drops the bag of rings into the portal, and it lands on the building's roof. The portal thusly closes as Sonic passes out, leaving Tom severely confused at everything that just transpired. Shortly after, Tom brings Sonic inside and places him in a dog cage. He compares Sonic to the quill he found and realizes that Sonic is the Blue Devil, confirming that Crazy Carl was right. When Sonic awakens, he climbs out of the cage, and the two finally meet and have their first real conversation. Tom asks Sonic what he is and why he was hiding in his garage. Sonic explains that he needed to be somewhere safe and considered Tom the only person he could turn to, referring to him as Donut Lord. Tom then asks Sonic why he keeps calling him Donut Lord. Sonic responds that it's because of Tom's tendency to talk to and eat donuts. Just then, Robotnik's truck arrives, explaining that he is unable to simply run away because his legs are weak from the lingering tranquilizer, which is meant for bears. Sonic begs for Tom to protect him from the people coming after him, describing the situation as life or death. This wording is what convinces Tom to help, as he was initially unwilling to get involved with the matter. He hides Sonic in the attic as he goes out to meet Robotnik, who inconspicuously dispatches his drones to search the house while the two talk outside. Sonic hides from the drones and curls up into a ball to hide among the various sports balls stored in the attic, but when the drones get too close, Sonic, in a panicked state, flees the attic and causes a noise. Robotnik barges into the house to find only a raccoon eating a cake that Maddie had baked for Tom to celebrate his acceptance letter. As he turns to leave, however, he discovers the quill. When Robotnik threatens Tom to reveal where Sonic is, Sonic shows himself and begs Robotnik to spare Tom, eliciting a terrified scream from Robotnik. Seizing the opportunity, Tom punches Robotnik and knocks him out, and after a skirmish with one of Robotnik's drones that was used in threatening Tom, he and Sonic escape the house, driving away in Tom's truck. Stone arrives to check on Robotnik, who berates him for failing to stop them, states their objective of capturing Sonic for examination, and tells him to bring the quill. With Sonic and Tom now on the run, Tom asks Sonic to explain himself. Sonic informs him of the purpose of his lost rings. Advanced cultures use rings to travel to different worlds, and adds that therefore, he needs to get to San Francisco so he can get them back and escape to the Mushroom Planet. The story proves too bizarre for Tom to believe, so he pulls over and tells Sonic to go there by himself, explaining that this is a bad time for him to end up in trouble and citing that he has accomplished what Sonic asked him to do, save his life. However, Sonic does not know where San Francisco is, and following Tom's directions to simply head west only causes him to crash straight into the Pacific Ocean and run back to Tom wet, cold, covered in seaweed, and wearing a fish on his head. Sonic blames Tom for his fate because of the fact that he was responsible for making him lose his rings in the first place and insists he can't accomplish his goal alone. Reluctantly, Tom agrees to take Sonic with him to San Francisco. As the two begin their travels, Sonic treats the journey as a fun road trip. He admires the attractions along the way, such as the world's largest rubber ball, barely paying any mind to Tom admonishing him for not taking the trouble they are both in seriously. That night they stop in a certain section of town, and Tom tells Sonic to stay in the truck as he uses a nearby payphone to call Wade, who reveals that Robotnik and his agents are searching for Tom and are with him in the station. Robotnik takes the phone and warns Tom that he is coming for him, stating how furious he is with the sheriff for punching him in the face due to it being a remainder of a similar situation regarding a bully in his childhood that he had solved through technology. Afterwards, he leaves with the agents, with Wade warning him that he will inform people about this incident. Meanwhile, Sonic tries desperately to control his excitement over an extremely entertaining-looking biker bar, but eventually caves in. Tom comes back to his truck with a purchased meal, only to find Sonic missing. He finds Sonic in the piston pit across the street and orders him out, but Sonic, who has disguised himself to blend in, persuades him to stay and have fun with him. Sonic compiles a bucket list of the things he would like to do on Earth, but becomes sad when he realizes he might not be able to do them since he has to leave Earth soon. But Tom encourages Sonic to try to do as much as he can right where they are, and the two take a while to enjoy themselves with all the bar's activities, with Sonic steadily crossing off items on the list as they go. Unfortunately, a group of rough-looking punks come looking for trouble and Sonic aggravates their leader, starting a bar fight. The leader of the punks attacks Sonic, but Sonic speeds up his awareness and runs around the bar, saving Tom from attackers and setting up sassy pranks and traps to end the fight, all in the span of the single moment before the punk leader can reach him. The fight is ended abruptly by Sonic's devices and the punk leader crashes through the window wearing a wall-mounted bear head. Sonic and Tom flee the bar, outrunning the angry patrons. The two then spend the night in a local motel, and after Sonic runs around the room enjoying himself with various activities, Tom asks him about this other planet to which he must go when he leaves Earth. Sonic reveals that it is a very unenviable place and wonders aloud about whether Longclaw might have been wrong. Pondering the possibility of having a life on Earth, he falls asleep not long after. As Tom tucks him in, he sees that one of the remaining items on Sonic's bucket list is to make a real friend. At that moment, he hears a news report that features a warning about him, as he has been declared a domestic terrorist because of his actions in protecting Sonic from Robotnik and the military. The next morning, Robotnik and Stone have arrived at the piston pit, which is under repairs from the bar fight, to interrogate the bar patrons, including the injured punk leader, who gets thrown through the same window as last night for being stubborn about giving up information. They learn that Sonic and Tom are heading to San Francisco. Robotnik triangulates their location and gives chase. On the road, Sonic asks Tom about what he would have on his own bucket list. Tom reveals his intentions to leave Green Hills to become a San Francisco street cop and prove himself as a hero. But Sonic is baffled and angered by the fact that Tom would want to leave behind such a perfect town and all the people he cares about. He argues that unlike himself, Tom has no villains chasing him, as well as pointing out that the citizens of Green Hills depend on him to help them with their problems when Tom responds by saying they could call anyone else for help. Simultaneously, Robotnik finds them and sends out a large six-wheeled badnik to attack them. A battle on the road ensues and Sonic and Tom work together to destroy the machine, despite Sonic's disdain for Tom's ambitions occasionally showing, in particular, one moment at the beginning of the fight where Sonic's electrical powers kick in again as he continues to emotionally call Tom out for choosing to leave his perfect hometown in spite of the danger they are in, drawing a parallel between it to his own experience of being forced to leave his home. Said powers are used to their advantage against the machine via a subsequent, and involuntary, supercharged spin attack from Sonic, but a pattern emerges where every time the two think they have defeated the machine, Robotnik activates another, smaller phase to continue the chase. The second to last phase of the machine involves it becoming a small drone and shearing the hood off of Tom's truck with a laser beam. After they deal with this phase, the machine is reduced to a sticky bomb that attaches itself to Sonic's hand, and they pull off the road to get rid of it. But just when Sonic manages to transfer it to a rock and starts to walk away to HIGH5 Tom, it explodes with Sonic still close by. As the smoke clears, Tom finds Sonic lying unconscious on the ground and runs over to him, attempting to get him to wake up. Robotnik is enraged that they survived and berates Stone for noting their persistence. At that moment, however, Robotnik finds that the quill in Stone's pocket is glowing with blue, electric light and is intrigued. Finally reaching San Francisco, Tom rushes to the house where Maddie is staying with Rachel and JoJo as he carries the still unconscious Sonic, who he had wrapped in a towel to conceal him. He is greeted by an irate Rachel, who has seen the news reports on him and refuses to let him in until Maddie intervenes. JoJo and the Wachowskis' dog, Ozzy, Maddie had taken him with her on her trip, come to greet him, and as Rachel and Maddie argue about Tom, Ozzy pulls away the towel, revealing Sonic. Rachel faints at the sight, and Maddie and JoJo just stare. Meanwhile, Robotnik analyzes the quill and the energy it contains. As he waits, he amuses himself by dancing to a tune until he is startled half to death by the sudden, and completely unexpected, appearance of Stone, who has come to offer a latte. At that moment, the machine finishes analyzing the quill, revealing it to contain unlimited energy that Robotnik believes can enable his prototype flying craft, the Eggpod, to reach its full potential. Tom and Maddie tend to the injured Sonic, while an annoyed Rachel sits bound in a chair to prevent her from interfering. Tom's reason for bringing Sonic here was to have Maddie check on him and figure out what is wrong with him using her experience as a veterinarian. But Maddie insists she only knows how to work with Earth animals. Sonic's alien biology is beyond her understanding. Instead, she uses smelling salts from a human first aid kit to awaken Sonic, who zips around the room at breathtaking speed before frantically coming to grips with his surroundings and enthusiastically greeting Pretzel Lady, pulling Tom into another room. A terrified Maddie asks him who and what Sonic is, and Tom asks her if she remembers what Crazy Carl always says, causing Maddie to realize that the Blue Devil is real. Tom explains that he accidentally shot Sonic with Maddie's tranquilizer gun, to her annoyance, and that he has to help Sonic get to the Transamerica Pyramid. Maddie ultimately accepts her husband's situation without much issue, recalling his desire to help people in danger and reasoning that blue alien hedgehogs still count as people. Simultaneously, JoJo returns from a short trip upstairs to bring Sonic a new pair of bright red shoes so that his feet will no longer hurt when he runs. Having noticed while he was unconscious that his old shoes were well worn out and had holes down to the socks from all of his running, he takes an instant liking to the new shoes. Especially since no one had ever given him a gift before, which is something else for him to check off the bucket list, and immediately puts them on. Sonic also meets Ozzy, of whom he is jealous. Tom had referred to the dog as his best animal friend, in the conversation that took place just before their fight on the road with Robotnik's machine. Much to Sonic's chagrin, but from whom he enjoys an affectionate face-licking. Deciding that they can no longer use Tom's damaged truck as it would draw attention to them, Tom and Maddie borrow the indignant Rachel's car and head with Sonic, who drives Rachel's car with disastrous results, to the Transamerica Pyramid, where Tom uses the false pretense of saving a jumper to gain the needed clearance to travel to the roof. Tom and Maddie carry Sonic inside a bag, eliciting grave concern from onlookers who believe that the pair are carrying an abducted child. They finally reach the roof, where Sonic at last finds and retrieves his bag of rings. Sonic briefly explains how the rings work. The user has to think of the desired destination as they throw one. He takes the opportunity to apologize to Tom for harshly and hastily judging the sheriff's decision to leave Green Hills, having realized that it was a difficult choice, and states that while he does not want to leave Earth, he will only put others in danger by staying. Sonic and Tom each admit they will miss the other, and Sonic expresses his gratitude for the good times they had over the past 2 days. He also thanks Tom for saving his life. Sonic attempts to throw a ring to open the portal to the Mushroom Planet, but it ends up uselessly bouncing off of one of Robotnik's drones. Many more drones surround them as Robotnik himself appears in his egg pod, now containing Sonic's quill, to meet them. After a brief exchange between Tom and Robotnik, Sonic taunts Robotnik by calling him Eggman after his egg-shaped drones. Robotnik readies his drones to blow them away, but in an impromptu plan to protect Tom and Maddie since they do not possess superspeed and are thus vulnerable to Robotnik's coming onslaught, Sonic pushes them off the top of the building, briefly showing shock at what just happened, but refusing to fully acknowledge said shock. Robotnik has his drones fire missiles and bullets at Sonic, who speeds up his awareness just before they make contact and casually pushes the ones in front of him aside. Then repeatedly grabs more missiles out of the air and either redirects them back into several of the drones or plays around with them, all in the span of milliseconds. But in the middle of this, Robotnik still has enough time to press a button that charges the eggpod with energy from the quill, allowing it, and by extension, himself, to move and react just as fast. He fires a blast at Sonic that he only narrowly avoids, the shockwave knocking him out of bullet time and into momentary delirium, quickly recovering from this to find Tom and Maddie still falling. He grabs one of the rings falling with him by using one of his quills as a reach extender and throws it, opening a portal beneath them that transports them back to Green Hills. Tom and Maddie end up landing safely in a pile of hay within a farmer's barn, while back in San Francisco, Sonic lands in a tree before crashing to the ground, along with the rest of the rings and Robotnik's destroyed drones. Meanwhile, the owner of the barn greets Tom and Maddie, asking for their help in aiding a cow's effort to give birth. Robotnik confronts Sonic and taunts him, but Sonic gathers up his spilled rings and runs through the city as Robotnik gives chase in the eggpod, as seen at the beginning of the film. Narrating again, Sonic notes how this has brought the story full circle and earnestly continues from where he left off, wanting to know what happens next just as much as the audience. As Robotnik continues his pursuit, Sonic is shocked by his ability to keep up with him, as no one has ever done that before. Sonic opens a portal to Paris, with him and Robotnik disrupting a mime act being performed for a young girl as they rush past. His next ring portal brings him and the Doctor to China, where the latter chases Sonic along the Great Wall of China. Next, Sonic opens a portal to Egypt, where Robotnik destroys many centuries-old monuments in his zeal to catch Sonic. Sonic uses his speed to create a sand twister that temporarily disrupts Robotnik's visual contact, but Robotnik sees Sonic running up the side of one of the Great Pyramids and follows him to the top, firing a blast just as Sonic manages to open another portal ring. The portal brings Sonic back to Green Hills, now at night, but the blast sends him hurtling through the ring and into the street, leaving him barely able to move from a combination of the chase and his injuries. Robotnik's eggpod slowly emerges through the portal, and the terrified onlookers flee as Tom and Maddie arrive on the scene. As Sonic collapses to the ground entirely, Robotnik prepares to finish him off. But Tom uses one of Sonic's rings to get behind him and engage him in physical combat inside the open cockpit of his vehicle, landing multiple punches on him in order to throw off his focus and protect Sonic. Unfortunately, Tom is ultimately hurled out of the cockpit, leaving Robotnik to question why the winded sheriff would be willing to throw his life away for a silly little alien. His attention now focused on Tom, he once again prepares to strike, but is thrown off a second time by a near-miss gunshot from Wade. Joined by a chainsaw-wielding Crazy Carl, who is all too willing to point out to everyone that this is concrete proof of the Blue Devil being a real creature and not a figment of his imagination, and some of the local townspeople in defending Sonic and Tom. However, Maddie draws Tom's attention back to Sonic. He remains motionless and silent, appearing to everyone as if he had lost his life. Robotnik insensitively requests putting Sonic's body on ice to keep it fresh and callously remarks that he was just an alien who did not belong here. With restrained anger, Tom responds by telling him that Sonic knew more about being human than he ever will, proclaiming him to have been his friend. Shortly after the statement, Sonic, who had only been dazed by Robotnik's attack, opens his eyes and gets to his feet. His body supercharged with electric energy, some of which he siphons from the quill powering the egg pod, returning it to its normal speed. Tom, Maddie, and the townspeople step back, allowing Sonic to handle things and take care of Robotnik. Fueled by passion, Sonic boldly proclaims to Robotnik that he will no longer use the power which is rightfully his to run away, but will use it to protect his friends. Robotnik pulls down his goggles and the two opponents become locked in a standoff, preparing to meet in full-on battle. Robotnik makes the first move by firing his missiles, but Sonic avoids them and bounces off the buildings to strike Robotnik's egg pod with an increasingly rapid barrage of body slams. With the vehicle severely damaged, but still afloat, Sonic declares that he is not the one leaving Earth and calls for Tom, who throws a ring behind Robotnik that creates a portal to the Mushroom Planet. Then, at last, Sonic dashes straight at Robotnik's vehicle and strikes it with a final spin attack that exerts enough force to send it flying backwards through the portal just as it closes, stranding a screaming Robotnik on another world so that he can never hurt anyone again. With the fight over, the electricity arcing from Sonic's body fades, and he returns to his normal state as the townspeople cheer for him. Sonic and Tom reunite and congratulate each other on getting rid of Robotnik together, and Tom returns Sonic's rings, though not before telling him not to push people off buildings anymore, which Sonic can't promise, as well as giving Sonic the high five he had wanted since the baseball game, much to the latter's sheer delight. Maddie, however, is horrified to realize they left Rachel tied to the chair in San Francisco and states they can never go back. Tom is fine with that, telling Maddie that he has decided not to leave Green Hills anyway, since he has already saved a life. As Wade disperses the crowd of townspeople, Sonic follows Tom and Maddie. The next day, as Tom and Maddie are repairing and repainting their house from the damage caused by Robotnik's drone, Commander Walters comes to thank Tom for not speaking publicly about the events of the past few days and to inform him that his guilt has been erased. He also denies that Robotnik ever existed when Tom brings him up, which the sheriff wishes aloud was true. As a bonus, the official presents Tom with an Olive Garden gift card, then asks if Sonic might be willing to talk to the president. But Tom falsely claims that Sonic has left so as to spare him that and politely bid him goodbye as they close their door in front of Walter's, who tries peeking inside their house all the while in a last-ditch effort to see if he is lying. After Walters leaves, Sonic comes out of hiding and asks if they would like to watch a movie. But Maddie tells him that it is time to go back to his cave. Disappointed and annoyed, Sonic heads for the front door, assuming they meant his old cave. But they imply to him that they meant something else. Tom and Maddie open the attic door so that Sonic can look inside. He is astonished to find that the attic has been turned into a room for him that contains all of his belongings from the old cave. Overcome with joy, Sonic runs around and relishes in having his things back. Tom and Maddie sit with Sonic on his race car bed and welcome him home, and Sonic gives them his heartfelt thanks. As the view zooms out and away from the house, Ozzy comes to lick Sonic again, with Sonic still jealous but enjoying the licking. Nearly 3 months later on the Mushroom Planet, Robotnik has completely lost his sanity, despite his belief that he has never done so. As he finishes shaving himself totally bald with a piece of metal from his destroyed egg pod, he gazes at his reflection in a pool of water, now with an extremely long, grown-out mustache that looks completely zany. Talking to a rock that he has carved to resemble Agent Stone, he throws it and tells it to perform rock reconnaissance for him. He reflects on his situation and remarks that a lesser man would die in such a place. But then, he holds up a small container with Sonic's quill inside it, proclaiming that he will be home by Christmas, then continues to explore and toss the stone rock around, laughing maniacally. A mid-credits scene shows forested hills in an area near Green Hills within 5 more months. There, the leaves stir as a ring portal opens. From it emerges an anthropomorphic two-tailed fox who uses a small handheld device to determine from the present levels of energy whether Sonic might be near. Finding the readings to be sufficient, Tails hopes aloud that he is not too late in finding him and uses his twin tails like helicopter blades to take off flying into the vast forest towards Green Hills.